My name is Rosario. How are you guys doing today? All right? So, as you can see, I know you're all great readers, but I am the founder of ACES, which is Addiction Consulting and Education Services. I'm also the Senior Director of Community Engagement for New England Medical Group, which is an outpatient program that specializes in teenage mental health and substance use. They have like a day program, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. They bring in dogs and therapy. I'm not trying to sell you the program, I'm just telling you where I'm from. We've seen more and more young people like your age that just really struggle with anxiety, depression, body image stuff. Some substance use, some not. It's not always substance use. But we're able to help those people before things get really out of control. You got some degrees and stuff like that, some certifications. You guys probably don't care, probably not impressed. I wouldn't be impressed if I was you, but I do have a bachelor's degree in business management. I am a certified interventionist and a certified family recovery coach. And I'm actually in my very last class, finishing my capstone major as we speak for my MBA in healthcare management. Thank God I'll be graduating with a master's in May 16th of this year. Not really the most important thing I am, and why I'm here is because I'm a person in long-term recovery. And what that means is that I made a lot of bad decisions as a younger person, and to be honest, I had fun too. Like, I hate when like old people are like, oh, you're gonna die. No, like, I had fun for a little while. It just turned on me, right? And my experience is I started using at a young age. It was no big deal. The next thing you know, it was frequent, marijuana every day, then it was like pills, it was alcohol, and like out of nowhere I got addicted to perks, and within a year I was addicted to heroin, and like literally almost died. Like 3 overdoses, as a result of like poor life decisions, not even just the drugs, like the people I was hanging with and like all the wild stuff I was doing. Like I've been arrested over 12 times. I've been jumped, I've been shot at, been stabbed in the back, literally punctured lung, hospitalized, almost died. And then when I got addicted to the opiates, I overdosed like 3 times, got brought back with Narcan, and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to do this again, but then I did it again. Finally, thank God, I got into recovery July 2nd, 2010, so God willing, I'm coming up on 14 years of continuous recovery now, and what I learned, I was like, oh, like it started here. Like everybody focuses on like the heavy drugs at the end. Obviously heroin's bad, cocaine's bad. But like nobody plans on becoming addicted to heroin and cocaine. It's just like not the 5-year plan. And so I made it like my life mission to try to get out there and talk to people. Here's the deal, like I'm not gonna try to scare you. I don't think your kids. I remember when I was in high school, like the old guy, like I get it, I'm the old guy now. The old guy look like a detective, I got the dad bod, I'm going bald, I'm not cool, I'm not even gonna try to be cool. I'm going to try to give you some information. I'm not going to talk down to you, I'm not going to scare you, I'm not going to disrespect you. I just ask you to give me the same respect, right? I'm going to ask you questions, so I'll talk at you for an hour, no one wants to be talked at. I'll get you involved, you laugh, you get a little wild, but then I need you to bring it back. If you can't bring it back, then I'm just going to talk at you for an hour so we can get through the content. But I'd rather be interactive and ask some questions and get you guys involved. So my goal with this whole thing is, and I'm not naive, I talk to the teachers, I talk to people, I know what's going on here, I know some people are messing around, some people are not. This don't apply to you. My boss used to say, if you don't apply, let it fly. That means when she was like going off about like DAP notes or something, that I don't do DAP notes. And don't take it personally, keep it moving. If you ain't experimenting and this don't apply to you, that's fine, keep it moving. If it does apply to you, I don't know, consider it. You're gonna do whatever you're gonna do. I think of like public speaking 101 is this, what's your message? Who's your audience, and how do you deliver a message to that audience? I remember being your age, believe it or not, and I'd be like, hey bro, I would laugh at someone like me, I'd be clowning, I'd be making fun of me, I would like be bought and leave here so I know smoke weed. That's who I was, big joke. So my point is like, all right, I'm not gonna scare you, you're gonna do whatever you're gonna do. At a minimum, maybe I can share some info with you. Even if like this don't apply to you, even if you're experimenting and your brain says it'll never be a problem, you probably know someone else who's got a bigger problem. Maybe you can use this information to help them, right? There's a slide on here that will fly through and it says something like 68% of all Americans are affected by addiction directly and indirectly. And I'm curious if you guys are comfortable, brave enough, whatever, like how many people know someone got a drug problem, an alcohol problem? If your cousin, a neighbor, friend, raise your hand, stop lying. We all know somebody. Don't be scared. Yeah, exactly. Look around real quick. Look around. Get all the hands up. All right, put your hands down. And I only do that because the truth is, nobody wants to talk about drugs, nobody wants to talk about mental health, no one wants to talk about like self-harm, eating and cutting, and all this sad stuff that people go through because of stigma, right? They're afraid of what other people are going to think. It's embarrassing, you know? If you got that person, like my uncle was always that guy, always drunk at every party. He was a kisser. Oh, there's nothing more annoying than a big, heavy, drunk kissing guy. Yeah, wow! Big, wet, drunk lips, bro, don't touch me. You know what I'm saying? It was so embarrassing. And so, there's a lot of stigma around drug and alcohol use. But I have everybody raise their hand because I want you to know that if you have someone at home or someone you love that's struggling, like, you're not alone, right? And you can talk to somebody else about it, ask for help. And if you get nothing else out of anything that I say today, know that I was a heroin addict with 3 DUIs and 3 overdoses. I could or should be dead or doing double digits in prison, but instead I'm here and I'm in recovery. So if nothing else, I hope you get a little hope shot. Like, I don't care how many times they've been in detox, how many times they lied, how many times they stole from you. And I'm not saying you got to deal with their BS. You can keep that at a distance. You don't got to co-sign the BS. But like, if you know someone that's struggling, there is hope. Like, people do get well, they do recover. People do come out of this thing, right? My goal with you guys is this: give you some information for yourself or to share with others. And prolonging first-time use is really my thing, right? Anyone that comes in, it's like, weed, you're gonna die, alcohol, you're gonna die. It's not true. It's not true. Some people I went to high school with experimented, they grew out of it, and they had normal lives. Good for them. Not everyone becomes addicted that tries one thing. But the problem is, a lot of people like me who just experimented. It was no big deal. Just having fun. And then I became addicted. It's like, what the heck? You know what I'm saying? I wasn't trying to become addicted. That wasn't the game plan. But the earlier you start, the more risk you are at becoming addicted. So my thing is like this. If you start demonizing alcohol and drugs and marijuana, meanwhile, the state thought it was a great idea to legalize marijuana in the middle of an opioid epidemic, where thousands of people are dying every year. You know what that does? Tells young people weed can't be that bad. Uncle Billy, that was like the closet weed smoker, now he's on the John Deere with his weed license ripping dope. You know what I'm saying? So these people that we love, that we respect, that are probably good people, who might be closet weed smokers and now smoke weed in public, which sends this message that it can't be that bad. And here's the hint. I'm not here to say whether it's good or bad. I'm just here to talk about why it's dangerous at a young age, and it's all about the brain. I'm not going to be like, you're going to die, you know, it's illegal. It's not that. It's your brain. We're going to talk about the brain a little bit. First slide, please. I'm going to blaze through a lot of this stuff so that we can have some conversation, and I have limited time with you guys. So there it is. Cautionary tale. That's me. Spoiler alert. Some science, some risk factors, refusal skills. Refusal skills are important because if you haven't been approached by anyone yet, you 100% will be. And now it's like we're going into summertime. Some of you are seniors, you may be going on to the workforce or going on to college. If you haven't been exposed, you will be. What are you going to do when someone puts you on the spot? Some people are like, I'll just say no. All right, cool. That wasn't my story. My story is like, I want people like me. I want to fit in. I want to be down with the homies. And like, when they put it in my face, I couldn't say no. I like buckled. I froze up, and I did something that I didn't really want to do, just because I wanted that friend group to like not clown me. So this is super important. Next slide, please. Because I know you wouldn't believe me. I had to bring proof. This is 13-year-old me. Coolest kid in middle school, self-proclaimed. I want to go back a couple years, because in 5th grade, I was already getting picked on, and then like that. In 6th grade, I fell in love with this little young lady who liked another boy, who broke my heart. And my mom and dad did not get along at all, like my whole childhood. Yelling, fighting, arguing over money, Portuguese divorce, right? Slept in separate bedrooms, but never actually got divorced. Yelling, arguing, and at a young age, I remember telling my mother, Portuguese immigrant. He didn't speak great English. He definitely didn't write good English. And he was like an offshore fisherman. So he's gone 21 days at a time, in and out. Then all of a sudden, he stops doing that, and he's a painter. Painter seasonal for him. He didn't have money. So my father, he didn't go to any of my sports stuff. I just wasn't the type of my father. So my mother and my father were always beefing, and he'd leave and leave my mom crying. I'm like, "Mom, why don't you just leave him?" And my mother was like, "Oh, no, I'll never leave your father because of you and your brother." And I know she was trying to be solid, right? Like my mom's like Lifetime movie network mom. You know what I'm saying? Like, never got a speeding ticket in her life, graduated New Bedford High School with honors, took Portuguese as a secondary language just for fun, taught my father and his whole family English. Like, she's that, life is what you make of it. The glass is always halfway full. You know, all that positive shit, like, just driving me nuts. Excuse my language. I really try not to swear, it's so hard. But like, if you're like having a bad day, or like you got some personal stuff going on, and someone's like annoyingly positive, you're like, "Bro, what are you talking about, Mom? Have you not read the Standard Times? Like 3 people got stabbed this week. What are you talking about? Life is what you make it. I'm trying not to die on the way to class." You know what I'm saying? That was my reality. There was a lot of violence, there was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of crime, and my mom was just like super sweet and happy, and life is what you make it. So I say all that to say, I had issues way before drugs and alcohol. I had major insecurity, I had low self-esteem, I was a late bloomer, I was like the little brunt out of all my friends. By the time I got to high school, my friends were getting little mustaches, I was still, 4'10". Didn't crack 6 feet until after high school. So I got all these insecurities and these issues, and by the way, if you haven't figured it out, you don't have to be a psychiatrist to understand, I got major ADHD, right? Spaz. In 5th grade, I was like Tasmanian devil, crashing into walls, I was a mess. So you throw ADHD in there, anxiety, low self-esteem, adverse childhood experiences, bullying, broken heart, and this is what I told myself. And you guys might not have done this yet, but you might do this when you leave high school and go to college, if you had a tough high school experience. I made an inner vow. And an inner vow was a deep promise that I made to myself, and I said, I will never be in a miserable relationship like my parents. I will never have a job that I hate like my mother. I will never let anyone disrespect me, bully me, and I will never let a woman get close to me and hurt me. So this guy right here, 7th grade, kid junior high school, now I'm wearing masks. Now I'm the tough guy. Now I'm the class clown. Now I'm the playboy. I don't do relationships. 7th grade, right? I think I'm a playboy. Now I'm hanging around with the 8th grade kids because I need that security. I need to feel safe. And like my father was like a meat man when I grew up, so I was attracted to the street. I'm in the projects, I'm hanging around with the drug dealers, the older guys, like that whole mob, like infatuation, Goodfellas, like type of, that was appealing to me because as a scared little kid, I want like to be tough. I want tough people around me. I want to feel safe. And so at a young age, I was like attracted to that life. So in 7th grade, I'm already fake. I'm already not authentic. I'm already acting tough, acting like a playboy, acting like a rah-rah. I wasn't any of those things. The truth is, I know now, from a lot of step work and therapy and being in recovery, is that I was a hurt kid. I was a hurt kid. People hurt me. People that I loved betrayed my trust. I didn't feel safe. So if you don't feel safe, you gotta find a way. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's healthy, and I don't co-sign violence, but because I was a scared little kid afraid of being hurt, I'm gonna act tough. You're not coming next to me. I'll throw hands first. I'll destroy you. I was quick with the tongue. I was just like, I was just like tight. And it looks like, oh, you're a tough kid. You're a punk. No, I wasn't. I was a broken little kid. Truth is, I was a broken little kid. I didn't feel safe at home. I wasn't proud of my family. I wasn't proud of my dad. I got creeped on in elementary school by some scumbag daycare worker, right? No one wants to talk about that, but that's pretty common too. And I was a broken little kid way before I tried drugs and alcohol. So in 7th grade, when the 8th graders put weed in front of me, I didn't want to smoke weed. I just wanted to be cool with the 8th graders. That's all that was about. But the worst thing that can happen to someone like me is like if you try a substance at a young age and it feels good or it helps, that's the worst thing that can happen. Because for me, with anxiety, and depression, and ADHD, and broken family dynamics, and all this heaviness on my heart, you give me a little weed, I drink a couple beers, and like, right? I felt like my shoulders would relax for the first time in my life. I felt like I could breathe a little bit. I felt like less afraid, less angry, less tight. And that's dangerous for someone like me. Because it's not sustainable. But I didn't even know what I was doing. This goes on when you're in it. I wasn't even self-aware that I had anxiety, depression, ADHD, trauma. I had no idea. All I knew was I was a ramped up young person. I smoked weed and it took the edge off. No big deal. Just having fun. Next slide, please. A few years later, now I'm 17 years old. I'm smoking weed every day. I'm selling weed, right? By the way, I live a double life. I'm in the projects, selling drugs, I'm driving a Honda Accord with a subwoofer, I'm that guy, right? But I'm also like working at Stop and Shop. I was the first one to get my license, and I'm like scraping by in school. So I'm not like a complete dropout degenerate, I'm like trying to live both lives. Still right here, by this time I've been arrested like twice. I got caught drinking in public. I got in a fight, there was a big fight on the Ave, I got disturbed in the peace. No big deal, it was a joke. It was all funny. You know, got the jewelry on, selling drugs, think I'm cool. But now, smoking weed every day, drinking heavy on the weekend. I remember drinking like Cool Blue 101. At that time, Ocean, which was disgusting. Just like getting smashed, throwing up, forgetting stuff. And it became like a joke. I thought it was normal. And I was hanging around people that like drank like that, so you get trapped in this belief that it's normal. It's not normal. Some people make it all through high school and never get drunk and throw up once. Imagine that. I was hanging with these people that were drinking all the time, every weekend. And like the sad reality is like kind of come to on Saturday and Sunday. And I'm like, yo, I remember till like 10 p.m. And my man's like, oh, I remember 11 to 12. And the next thing you know, I'm like piecing my night together. I don't even remember the whole night. And I'm like, they were like, oh, we ended the night at breakfast at 3 a.m. I'm like, where? Who was driving? You were. What? No big deal, just a big joke, right? But at that time, the Oxycontin was starting to come out, the Percocets, the Valium, the Klonopin, the Xanax, these like prescription drugs that people get for like legit anxiety issues. Like my friend group was starting to pass them around, and I was taking them. Still no big deal, I'm not addicted, I got a job, I sell little drugs, I got the car, the rims, and the subwoofer, and the jewelry, I think I'm the man. Next thing you know, I'm sure you've heard of Purdue, a big pharma, and Oxycontin and all that stuff. Oxycontin came out, and everybody was like, yo, these are just like perks, but without the aspirin. I'm like, perfect. I have no desire to take aspirin. I like perks. And as naive as that sounds, because you guys are smarter than that, right? Like I started taking OCs, and within like, I don't know, 6 to 8 months, I was full-blown addicted. Like, didn't even know I was addicted, because it wasn't something I like thought I needed. But like, I went camping, I went to like Sandy Pond Campground in Plymouth, right? And like I brought weed and alcohol and hamburgers, and like, I didn't even bring pills, because I'm like, pills were like secondary. And on day 2, like I was sick. I had cold sweats. I had like chills in my body. I was withdrawing. I didn't know it. And I was like, damn, I feel like I got the flu like in July, right? My boy was like, yo, yeah, you're dope sick. I'm like, dope sick? I want to slap this dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm King Riz, I make money, you know what I'm saying? He's like, you're dope sick. Pulls out a pill, crushes it up, I sniff a little bit of it, in like 15, 20 minutes, I'm right as rain. And I'm like, what happened that day that I also wasn't aware of? Is something clicked in my brain that said, if you don't have this, you're going to be sick. Which were dramatic. If you don't have this, you're going to die. And like from that day forward, I never went anywhere without pills. We're not going to work, we're not going to funerals, we're not going to weddings, literally not doing anything unless I get my perks and my OCs, because I never want to experience that sickness again. Next slide. Well, that didn't last very long. And within a couple of years, I was shooting heroin. I know it seems dramatic, and I know this will never happen to you, but also everybody I went to school with that became addicted to heroin said it'll never happen to them. You know what I'm saying? But it happened to me. I was a cool kid, I made money, I had a job, I was taking perks, no big deal. It got me, and I couldn't afford my perk habit, because what I learned later on is about biology is your body builds intolerance. So if you're just smoking a little weed right now, doing a little vape, whatever, no big deal, little gummy here and there. The bad news is this. Might not be a big deal, but there's a reason you're doing it, right? It feels good, takes you out of the way that you feel, helps you sleep, kills your anxiety, whatever it is that you justify using it for. The bad news is this: every single day your body starts to build a tolerance to these things. And in a year from now, and in 3 years from now, those things just don't work anymore. And that's exactly my experience. I just smoke a little weed. No big deal. I want to drink a little alcohol. And I never wanted to be an addict. Who the hell wants to be an addict? I just wanted to deal with that anxiety and that depression and those racing thoughts and all that stuff. But the truth is, a little weed didn't do it anymore, so it's weed and alcohol, and it's weed, alcohol, and pills, and then the stronger pills, and like, all I was ever doing, ever, was just trying to feel okay. I just wanted to be okay. I just wanted to be comfortable in my own skin. And substances temporarily did that for me. But over the years, I built a tolerance. And that's what happened with the OCs real quick. I was addicted to OxyContin. Next thing you know, I got a $200 a day habit that I can't afford. One of my friends is doing heroin. I'll never do heroin. That's disgusting. That's dirty. I'm K-Riz. I make money. One day I'm super dog sick, hurt, can't even move. And the dude pulls out the heroin and I sniff it. And I felt great. Right? It took the sickness away. A $5 bag took away a $200 a day pill problem. So next thing you know, now I have to sniff heroin because it was an economical decision. Well, guess what? 6 months later, I'm sniffing $200 a day worth of heroin again. And I can't afford that habit, and now this guy's shooting. And I'm like, I'll never shoot heroin. I hate needles. It's disgusting. And then one day I'm super, super sick. And I'm like, whatever, just do it this one time. And he shoots me up. Within a couple months, I'm shooting heroin every day. And then all the chaos that comes with that. Overdoses, methadone clinics, Suboxone clinics, stealing the jewelry from my mother. Like, I went from being like this cool kid that got in a lot of fights, that had some respect in the city, been arrested a lot of times, never told on anybody, driving Cadillacs with pinky rings and all that stuff, to like a snaky little dope fiend, riding a bike in the rain with $38 trying to get a 40 bag, shoplifting, stealing my mom's jewelry. Like, oh, how the hell did that happen? Really? I'm gonna keep it moving because I know you can't even relate with that. Sometimes I talk about my own story and it's like, how did that even happen? And there's only one way to guarantee that doesn't happen, which is just to not use drugs, you know? But the problem is, in my whole generation, a lot of my friends, they experimented, and a lot of them are dead. I got dozens of dead friends, I can't even keep track. Like, what's a sad thing? Is like, not only is Facebook like an obituary most of the time, this one died, that one died, just get numb to it. That like sometimes, it's like, oh, this is Frank and 12 other people's birthday today. And I look at it and I'm like, Frank's dead. I don't even remember if Frank's dead. That's how many people have died. And I have to literally go to Frank's page and look at the activity to figure out if he's dead. So I would say like, happy birthday to a dude that's not even here anymore. Next slide, please. We're gonna ramp this up and get back on a positive note. Sorry if I brought you down with all that heavy energy. So we already talked about this, right? How did this happen to me? Insecurity, low self-esteem, starting at a young age, ADHD, family dynamic, genetic predisposition. Does anybody know what genetic predisposition is? What is it? Yes! Round of applause for this person right now. President said, if addiction runs in your family, you have this addiction gene, which is a pretty simple way of saying it. But genetic predisposition is beyond drugs and alcohol. When you go to the doctor, you do a genogram or a family tree or whatever it's called, and they ask you, does anybody in your family have heart disease? Does anyone in your family have hypertension? Does anyone in your family have diabetes or whatever it is? Because if these things run in your family, it doesn't mean you are 100% going to get it. But science proves if a certain thing runs in your family, you're just more at risk to get it. So you gotta be aware. Diabetes, any of those things, addiction, mental health issues, if it runs in your family, you just have to be aware. I had no idea. My mom, like my father's father, died when I was like 5. My mother's father, I don't even think I ever met him. I think he died before I was born. And my mother used to say, oh, my dad died in a car accident. Well, when I got a lot older, I found out my mother's father died in a car accident from injuries sustained as a result of a drunk driving car accident career alcoholic as a bartender, right? Nobody told me this, nobody talked about it. Would it have changed everything? I don't know, but now it makes more sense. Why me? Why did I go to school with a bunch of kids that like smoked weed, drank alcohol, experimented a little here and there, but they just grew out of it? They're like healthy, productive members of society. They still have a Bud Light and watch the Red Sox or whatever. No big deal. Why? Because they didn't have a lot of these things. They were able to experiment and it just kind of went its course and no big deal. But I had ADHD. I had some trauma. I had family dynamic issues. I moved more than once before I was 10 years old. My parents had major beef and I had huge genetic predisposition. Addiction runs on both sides of my family. So I'm talking to young people and I'm like, you should probably just know, like, family history thing, because if it runs in your family, like, you have way more risk than the next person. You just gotta wait, you gotta wait till your brain fully develops. Next, I already touched on that. This is the statistic, but just in the last 5 years, 10,000 people have died in Massachusetts. 470,000 people have died in the United States just from overdoses. That number this year hit 1 million. 1 million people died of an overdose in the United States over the last 12 years. And there's another statistic, next slide. I think it's on the next one, we'll leave it there. There's a statistic that says 93% of all people addicted to heroin and fentanyl and perks and all that report that they did not stop with heroin, right? And it sounds like obvious, but like if you're like me, you're a young person smoking weed, and you're just dismissing everything I'm saying, like I would have been, it's not possible that I, as a 15-year-old smoking weed, will ever become a drug addict. Well, that's what 93% of people that died of an overdose thought. You know what I'm saying? It's not the 5-year plan. Well, I'm just going to smoke a little weed on the weekend, work my way up to edibles, take some perks, and around 22, 23, shoot some heroin, smoke some crack, and be homeless. Right? Nobody does that. That's not the plan. It just kind of sneaks up on you. Next slide, please. Oh, no, back slide. What is addiction? Yeah, so real quick, addiction is beyond drugs and alcohol. Addiction, though, is a mental obsession, a preoccupation, or an obsessive use of something despite negative consequences. And for some people, especially the group before you guys, I did 7 through 9 before you, they're all tweaked out on Fortnite. You know what I'm saying? All cracked out. And they can't identify with drugs and alcohol, and that's great. But that can be an addiction. If you're like, Fortnite all day, every day, tweaking out, texting your boys about Fortnite, hanging out. You get out of class, right to the dungeon, the basement where you get your set up with your headphones, get locked in, all the homies are signing on, you get all cracky. All that dopamine stuff pumping in you. Billy, have you done your homework? No, now, right? It's getting real. It's funny, but it's like super serious at the same time, because if anything you do, I don't care if it's exercising, video games, making weed, alcohol, whatever, if it's starting to cause problems in your life, you're fighting with your parents, you're not focusing on your homework. It used to be all about being outside and playing sports and doing certain things, and now you don't do any of that anymore. You're just locked in. Like, that's a problem. And really, addiction is often driven by this release of dopamine. And the video games, and beating certain levels, and beating your friends to certain achievements, and even social media getting all those likes and all those views, it releases dopamine. Does anybody know what dopamine is? What does it do?
Makes you happy.
It's a hormone that makes you happy. Round of applause for that person right there. So bad news, you're all at risk. You know, that's to keep it simple. Anyone under the age of 18, so that's all of you. Maybe some of you are on the cusp of 18. Bad news, anyone under the age of 25 without a fully developed brain is at risk. If it runs in your family, more at risk. If you have mental health in your family, more at risk. Genetic predisposition we talked about. If you're on other medications, more at risk. Individuals who have experienced trauma. Next slide, please. This is trauma. Science, I'm just trying to fast forward to get to the brain stuff. This is pretty obvious. If you've been physically, mentally, sexually abused, you're more at risk. If you have one parent that has addiction problems, more at risk. If one is passed, more at risk. Separation, divorce, more at risk. Move more than once, more at risk. There's just all this data that says the more uncomfortable things you've experienced, the more likely you are to become addicted. It's super obvious. The science shows that people with more pain are more likely to become addicted because people are trying to escape that pain. It's natural. And it's hard to get honest about it. It's hard to do the therapeutic work on it. It's easy to just take drugs and alcohol. It's easy to self-harm and cut and do all kind of stuff to distract yourself from the pain. But the pain doesn't go away on its own. And until you face it and deal with it, you'll never experience peace. You'll never experience freedom. So the people that have had more trauma are more at risk. Next slide. So, back to dopamine. The limbic system, you guys probably know this, so I'm going to try to not talk too stupidly, just try to, I don't know what the word is. I don't want to dumb it down. But you guys knew what dopamine was, so you might know what the limbic system is. Who knows what the limbic system is? Anyone? Literally, you can slide right. The limbic system is also called the reward center of the brain. No, it's not the craving. You've read that highlighted word, which I appreciate. But the reward center of the brain is where the dopamine comes from, the limbic system. And the dopamine is a chemical that makes you feel good to reinforce a behavior. So things like eating, laughing, exercise, making love with your significant other after college. Or sex releases dopamine. You need to have sex to make more humans. I think you guys can handle that. 7 million plus this shit. So good job, you mature. But it's true, right? There's certain things. Sorry, Mr. Aaron. But I'm good for these 1 or 2. And those are like B minus. They're not even right? So here's the bad news about dopamine. Dopamine is a thing that just happens whether you like it or not. As cavemen, when we needed more humans and we needed the rich to survive, we had this fight or flight thing, right? When you approach with danger, fight or run. That comes from God. That comes from science. That comes from whatever you want to call it. You're born with it. Same thing with the limbic system. The limbic system is a part of the brain that is meant to reward and reinforce behavior that we need to do as humans to stay alive. You have to eat. Little dopamine feels good. Keep eating, stay alive. Don't overeat. Exercise. You need exercise. You need to make love to have more humans, right? Well, this is dopamine. So, the dopamine was meant to be like a little puppy treat to let the human know, yeah, this is a good thing, you need to do this to stay alive. So here's the bad news about dopamine. Video games, I'm not going to blow it out of proportion. Video games and social media are definitely on a lower level, but definitely release like 1,000 times more dopamine than like eating an apple, right? So, when you get that burst of dopamine from a video game or from a like or from whatever on social media, your brain's like, yeah, bro, we need this. This feels good. And that's why you start obsessing about it. You're actually not obsessing about the game or whatever. What you don't know subconsciously is your body's craving more dopamine. Now, when you get into vaping, which has like strong bursts of nicotine, which is a strong drug, you get into alcohol, gummies, weed, whatever. Once you get into actual substances, it releases like 5,000 times more dopamine than eating, laughing, exercising, or having sex. So, what that usually does for a lot of people is the brain says, wow, this is great, let's do it again. And that's where the craving starts to come from, and that's where people start to obsess, and that's what happened to me. Like, I just smoked a little weed, it was no big deal, but the next thing you know, like, I couldn't wait for the weekend. I couldn't wait to get up with the homies and get someone to buy alcohol and smoke some weed. Like, I literally was thinking about it like all week in school. Like, I just couldn't wait. I thought I was looking for fellowship and hang with my friends and have fun, but I was craving that big burst of dopamine. And then the last bullet there says, once you get too used to these large bursts of dopamine from vaping, marijuana, edibles, or whatever, you become desensitized, which means now laughing, exercising, playing sports with your friends, like all that other stuff that maybe used to bring you a little joy and give you a little dopamine is now not doing it for you. Right? And next thing you know, this is my story, I needed a substance to do anything. Oh, you want to go to school dance? Yeah, with alcohol. I'm not going to school dance without alcohol, that's lame. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna have fun. Oh, want to watch a comedy, go to a comedy, whatever? Yeah, absolutely. Who's going to eat? Who's going to watch it? I'm not going sober. That's you know what I'm saying? Not going to laugh. And what I found was, because I got so used to smoking weed and drinking, like when I wasn't, everything was just kind of whack. Like, this is whack, that's whack, this is boring. I'm not into it. Just wasn't exciting. Like everything was so blah. Because they didn't give me that burst that I was looking for. And now I literally couldn't do anything without some kind of burst giver. I'm not leaving the house, I'm not doing nothing unless I get my burst, because everything just kind of sucked unless I had drugs and alcohol in my system. But that's not sustainable, right? It's not sustainable because over a long period of time, like, you can't drink and smoke weed all day, every day. And even when I tried to do that, it stopped working, and I started using pills, and the whole time, I was never trying to be a drug addict. I was just trying to be okay. I was just trying to feel good. I was just looking for that next burst of dopamine. Next slide, please. Yeah, I think I went on enough on the prefrontal cortex. Next slide, please. This is super obvious. I do a lot of slides because sometimes if I lost my words, which rarely happens, there's a lot of content up there. We don't have to go on to every slide. This is just data to prove that I'm not a crazy person. I've done a lot of research. I've done works cited. I've got this from like vetted sources. If anybody is interested, I'll share this PowerPoint with you. You can have it. You can print it. You can put it on a flash drive or whatever. But this is pretty obvious. If I think it's obvious, right? The earlier you start using drugs, the more likely you will become addicted. Period. That's it. The science says that because of the developing brain, if you get nothing else from what I've said, my goal is to prolong first-time use because of the brain. Here's the science. The science says the brain's not fully developed till the mid-20s. So, if you wait until you're 16 before you try weed, alcohol, vape, you're like 32% less likely to become addicted because your brain's starting to develop a little bit. If you wait until you're 18, it goes to like 41% less likely to become addicted. If you go to age 21, without vaping, without weed, without alcohol, without edibles, it's like 50% less likely to become addicted. It's like, what, 50%? Yeah, because at 21, your brain's a lot more developed. If you wait until you're 25, which I know probably not realistic for a lot of you think it's a big joke, you know, we smoke weed, we leave here, blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. It's all good. We'll keep a secret for you at the halls, as Alcoholics Anonymous, as Narcotics Anonymous. We fired you there. But the truth is, if you could actually wait until you're 25 and you decide you want to drink a glass of wine to celebrate your master's degree, good for you. Your brain can literally handle it at 25. The science says if you wait until you're 25 before you drink smoke or whatever, you're like 67% less likely to become addicted. It's just the science. It's just the data. So again, you're going to do what you're going to do. I'm not trying to calm you or scare you. Trust me. I get it. But this is like actual information that if it don't apply to you, maybe you use it with your little brother, your little cousin, your little sister, whatever. When you try to talk to them, instead of just saying, don't do that, you're going to die, you can have an intellectual conversation. You can talk about brain development. You can talk about prefrontal cortex. You can talk about the science, even if you forget the numbers, because those numbers I just gave you are not the numbers. Dr. Strand is an adolescent clinical psychologist who presented that one time, and I took the concept. It doesn't matter the numbers. It goes 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Every increment you wait, it reduces the risk of becoming addicted. That's what I got out of it. I made the numbers up, so you don't have to remember the numbers either. But it significantly reduced the risk of addiction as your brain got a little more developed. I was like, oh, I like that. I'm going to use that. I told him I was going to use it, and I gave him a plug. I'm not taking credit for his science, but it's true. Next slide, please. Marijuana. I only put this here because a lot of people minimize marijuana, and I'm not against marijuana again. I don't care what you do. I do care because I care about you as humans, but like just so you don't go home and like roast your parents, If people drink and smoke and whatever as adults, good for you. None of my business. However, there's this idea that marijuana is not that dangerous. Even worse, they decided to legalize marijuana in the middle of an opioid epidemic when we're losing, 2,000 people a year from overdose death. So what that does is, it gives this perception of lowered risk, especially with young people. They see that marijuana is legal now, everybody's smoking weed now, there's weed dispensaries everywhere now, you've got billboards on the highways. Can't be that bad, it's legal. Don't believe that. Government don't care about you. Alcohol's legal, kills more people every year than any other drug. Guess what? OxyContin was legal. Percocet is still legal. Morphine is still legal. Still dangerous, right? So just because marijuana is legal doesn't mean it's good. But the bigger problem is, especially for like people my age, like your parents probably, we grew up with some, Mexican brick weed. It wasn't good weed, you know what I'm saying? It was like 3% THC. It came in the shape of like a textbook. You had to peel it apart and let it dry for a day just so you could smoke it because it was so compressed. It just wasn't good weed. This weed that's out there now is scientifically, made, I can't even use the words, you know what I'm saying? This stuff is high-level stuff. This is medical stuff. They're doing genetic modification to the weed. They got the different strands of the sativa and this and that. One's for up, one's for down, one's for a bad back. This stuff is strong. And the THC has no medicinal value, right? So they played the game with us. Oh, CBD has medicinal value. 100%, I agree, it does. And you can get it in pills, and in bombs, and in powders, and in a lot of different forms. But they use that to legalize marijuana so they can make money. Because the THC has zero medicinal value. As a matter of fact, the THC is triggering psychosis in young people. We're seeing more and more people age 15 to 17, 15 to 19, just like the teenage group, they're ending up in psychiatric units. What? Good kids, no history of mental health in the family, but because the weed is so strong, and then you get to the edibles and the resins, the THC is actually triggering psychosis, schizophrenic disorders in people, and they're seeing things and hearing things that are not there. And they're ending up in the psych ward, and the people are calling me, ACAB, we got the 17-year-old, we don't know what to do, trying to get him in treatment, and you get the labs back, and it's only marijuana. You would think it has to be something else. So, again, I'm not trying to scare you because I don't think I can scare you, but just be aware that this weed's a lot stronger. If you do experiment with the gummies, please, wait a whole 45 minutes. Again, I'm not saying you should, but it's like giving out condoms. I'm not saying have sex, but if you're going to have sex, wear a condom. You know what I'm saying? Well, adults don't use gummies. Don't use gummies, but if you're going to, you better wait. Because one of the biggest reports is that young people are taking a gummy, 20, 30 minutes, they don't get no effect. They take another one, 10, 15 minutes, no effect, they take another one. Some people hit it 20 minutes, sometimes it takes 45 minutes. Next thing you know, they got hit with 3 gummies, and they're running down the street out of their mind. It's not even funny, it's scary. If you're a regular, normal 17-year-old human, and then you just stop seeing things that are not there, trust me, that's not fun. That's not what they were going for. They were just trying to show you. Okay, next slide. Alcohol, I already talked about it enough, I think. But again, alcohol's another thing. Everybody drinks. It's not a big deal. My uncle drinks, my father drinks. All these famous people drink. Everybody's drinking on TikTok. Ha. They're all going out on lean and Xanax and addicted. Yeah, I guess that's okay. If you make millions of dollars, you can afford to be addicted to that. But that's not a good look. These dudes are all strung out on whatever. Anyway, alcohol. I guess I'll speak out sometimes. Sorry, guys. But to keep it on alcohol, a lot of people minimize alcohol. But alcohol kills more people every year than every other drug. Alcohol is a drug. Alcohol and nicotine are one of the most addictive drugs in the universe. This fentanyl thing is like a big United States problem. It's not big in a lot of other countries. Alcohol is big everywhere. Nicotine is big everywhere. Even if it was just alcohol, alcohol kills more people every year than any other drug. Next slide, please. I was blown away by this, and you might not be. I grew up in New Bedford. This is a nice town. New Bedford's a little ratchet. I know that. And I thought I knew what drug addicts and alcoholics looked like. And if you live here, You're probably like, some of your families like made a little money and got you out of Brockton, you know what I'm saying? You moved to the burbs, good for you, you made it. And you probably think Brockton's the problem and Fall River's the problem. Christine, appreciate you. Christine's over there trying to get some content, and I'm like a wicked wildcat. You never know what I'm going to say. That Brockton Burbs thing was definitely fresh content. But it's true. I think of like New Bedford and Somerset, no, scratch that, Springfield. Somerset's really nice. New Bedford, Springfield, Lawrence, Brockton. You think of those like hood rat communities. Oh, those are where the drug addicts are. Those are where the criminals are. And like I was starting to do research so I could present more information rather than my opinion. And the data came back and it said, out of the 1 million people that have died of an opioid overdose death in the last 12 years, the biggest demographic, the biggest group of people that died was that. What was that? 17, what is it? 20 to 34-year-old white males from middle-class family. Not the hood rats, not the projects. Good kids from good families started to experiment in their teens. The next thing you know, they died of an overdose death. I was shocked. I really thought it was like those people, and it's not. It's us. It's you guys. It's good people from good families. And again, there's that bullet I talked about. 93% of people say they did not start with heroin effect. Next slide, please. You guys are doing great. We're almost done. I've got a couple more slides, and then I'm going to open it up to you guys. So if you have any questions or comments, this is an awful slide. There was not a lot of good pictures I could get that I didn't have to pay for. That used to be the most common thing up there, that like the jewel, the flash drive looking thing. Next slide. There's a lot more options these days. So, besides the fact that the nicotine releases massive amounts of dopamine and creates a mental obsession and a full-blown addiction, besides that, vaping in itself, lung irritation, blood pressure, you can have digestion, heartburn, anxiety, dry skin. It's 2 slides away, but I'll just finish this slide. So just vaping alone has a lot of health implications. It can mess with your focus. And like the biggest thing is, and I say this as a person in recovery, I know what it's like to have that brain that's like, yo, I can't wait to get out of here to get that thing, whatever it is. If you're sitting here right now and you can't wait to get out of here to go vape, hit your little flash drive, that's a problem. Because if you're 15, 16, 17, and you got this mental obsession, I can't wait to vape here, smoke a little weed, and hit the vape or whatever, it's only going to get worse. It's only going to continue to grow. The weed and the vape is not sustainable. Like, if you're obsessing about anything right now, you better check it. You better talk to someone. Even if it's video games, I'm not trying to escape you. Like, if you're obsessing about video games where it's messing with your life, you're not eating, you're not exercising, you're not hanging with your friends, like, you might want to find a healthy balance in that. Video games are not bad. Play video games, exercise, have fun. But like the mental obsession piece, you gotta be careful. Because I don't know if you've ever heard this term. Oh, he has an addictive personality. If you're not doing drugs, but you have like an addictive personality, you better not vape. You better not try any weed or anything. Because if you already have the addictive personality, you'll be out. You'll be off and running. So you're just gonna be self-aware. Next slide, please. A bunch of other goofy vapes. Next slide. Some more side effects. Look at that right side. Shortness of breath, ulcer, diarrhea, not sexy, nausea, dry mouth, tremors, heartburn, sleep disturbances, blood clotting, changes in heart rhythm and rate. This is just vaping. Next slide. You guys know what this is? You guys have seen this before, right? A lot of you have. So I want to say this. I know I'm old and I'm out of touch and I need your help, right? I would like to come back here next year. And I don't want to just talk at you and talk about nonsense, right? So I don't know. I'll do it up here. I need you, if you don't mind, shoot me an email after this, if the school's okay with it. I'm on the last slide. Let me know. If your brother or sister or somebody was in here, what should I be talking about? What can I add or subtract from this? Because I want to be better. I don't want to just talk at people. So if you're open to that, shoot me an email after and give me some feedback. I totally got thick skin. You say, you suck, you doing too much. Okay, but can you give me a solution? Don't just complain. What can I do better? Help me. know what I'm saying? I'd appreciate that. And I say that because of this. I was in a school, and I'm like, vaping, I'm the old guy, vaping's bad, right? Excuse me. And the teacher said, hey, Kev, great job, but we don't even have a vaping problem anymore. I'm like, what? What do you got? Oh, we got a Zyn problem. We got a smokeless tobacco problem. I'm like, oh, I had no idea. I knew what it was. I golf with friends that smoke and vape, and, you know, athletes, baseball players often like the dip, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't know. She was like, yeah, because we got hip to the vaping, and we were doing like bathroom monitoring, and they spent big money and got like vape smoke detectors, and like the students were like throwing vapes down the toilet, and it was like this $100,000 plumbing job that they needed, and they were like causing a big thing about the vaping. And so the kids are like, skirt! You know what I'm saying? You can't catch them now. There's no smoke. They skirted on them. The teachers were like, oh, we thought we were slick. We got the smoke detectors, we got this, we got that. We're doing hall passes, and we're monitoring the bathrooms. And now they just got this little pouch that they put in their mouth that's like even stronger than the vape. And it's smokeless, and it's scentless, and that's the new thing. And I'm like, oh, thank you for that. I can add that to my slide. I had to do a little research. Like I know what it was, but I want to talk about it. And if you haven't seen this, it looks like gumbo candy. Just know that it's so strong. If you don't smoke or vape or whatever, and someone gives you one of these little pouches and you put it in your mouth, you'll probably throw up. It's like that intense. It's not bubble gum, regardless of the flavor. So just be aware, like if you haven't seen this, someone might offer it to you. If you're not a smoker or whatever, even if you're a smoker, this might be intense. Like you got a cigarette, right? A vape is like a whole pack of cigarettes in one vape. Each one of these little things is like 4 or 5 cigarettes worth of nicotine. So just think about it. Like a cigarette makes people choke that don't smoke. If you stop getting into vaping and then the pouches, it's concentrated, stronger amounts of nicotine in a little small delivery unit. So just be aware. Next slide, please. All right, we only got like 5 more minutes. I should have put this slide back. Tell me this. You guys know what self-esteem is. You guys are old, you guys are smart. What do you think is, give me some practical things that someone could do to get you guys involved, so I don't put you to sleep. What's some practical things that someone could do if they have low self-esteem? If you know someone's kind of sad and down, they beat themselves up a little bit, they're feeling a little low. Do any of you have any like self-esteem boosters? What would you tell someone who's down on themselves? Maybe it's not an actual thing that you would tell them to do. What? Raise your hand instead of just bursting out nonsense. You know, no, you don't want to. All right, how about you? Writing a journal. High five and a clap. Writing a journal. How about you guys back here? What's something we can do to boost self-esteem? In yourself or someone else? What do you got? Working out. Round of applause. Self-esteem boosters. What do you do? I see you in the front. 1 second. Go for a walk. Round of applause. Go inside, outside, go outside. Round of applause. Hey, there's something to that. Get the vitamin D, get the fresh air. What's up? Just do something you like. Round of applause. Come on. What do you got? Yell it out. Lifting weights, bro. Round of applause. You know that's all right. All right. Brought you guys back to life. You guys are great. Next slide. Next slide. Boom. Look at you guys. You guys can do this presentation, right? So, science says people with low self-esteem that are like down, they're more likely to make bad decisions. That was me. I was down on myself, low self-esteem. I was like crash test dummy. You know what I'm saying? No bad ideas. I would do anything someone said to do. I'm crazy. I'm crazy. I jump off the bridge. I get in a fight. I'll go up to the girl. I'm crazy. I wasn't crazy. I was a scared little kid that I wanted everyone to like me, so I acted crazy. The truth is, I was weak. I wasn't my authentic self. like real strong, healthy people, you can't get them to just do anything. They're not followers, they're leaders. You know what I'm saying? They're leaders. People that have good self-esteem, even if it's like, it doesn't mean you think you're all that. Like, I don't think I'm all that. I know I'm overweight, I know I'm old, I'm bald. Like, it's not about physical. I don't think I'm, you know what I'm saying, the flyest guy. I'm like a 6 on a good day. It's okay. I'm a decent human. I'm a flawed human. I got issues like everybody, but I'm trying to be a better person. I'm trying to help people. You know what I'm saying? I'm right-sized. I'm not the biggest piece of crap in the world, and I'm not the greatest thing in the universe. I'm just like, okay. I got some strengths that I'm better than other people at. But I got some real weaknesses.